Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot, and today I wanted to just chat a little bit about my recent deep dive with the She-Wolf Tarot, mostly because I am so excited that I feel like I finally found a way to solidly actually deep dive a deck. I think the only other deck I have done that with is my Forest of Enchantment Tarot, where I did that whole kind of practice around it that I shared on my channel here. You can find a playlist for that. It's like Journey Through the Forest of Enchantment. Otherwise, I don't really feel like I have genuinely, like, within a practice, deep dove deck. I have decks that I know really well just from using them a bunch, but I always was intrigued by the idea of really like getting into a deck, that phrase deep diving, that we commonly use, but it never worked for me because a lot of the like ways I see people going about it is just kind of like where you use one deck for the whole month or like a whole week, things of that sort, and I cannot do that. I get bored. I get bored of something if I'm using one deck every single day of the week, and then it kind of like works against me in that way, where I'll like think I find the deck boring. You know what I mean? While I'm speaking, we can flip through the cards. This is not really meant to be like a walkthrough per se. This isn't a new deck, so, you know, if that is what you are seeking, I am sure there are ones on the internet. So, this is not in order right now, but why not? Let's look at the cards, because I think they are so amazing. So any sort of practice I have tried where the intention is, okay, I'm going to use this one deck consistently for this long. I think it's as soon as my brain like gets that demand on it, I'm instantly turned off by it. And so I just kind of was convinced that deep diving was not for me until the discovery of this. So I showed this deck in my last, what do I call it? Deck speed dating, because this is, was it deck speed dating? It was. Yes, I showed this in my deck speed dating, but also the video I made about decks I don't really use much. And so this is a deck I've had for a good while now. I got it used off eBay or something like that because I was curious. It's really different for me. I wanted to just check it out. And it's one that I did a few readings with, and then it just kind of sat. And I think it felt intimidating to me because it's so different than any other deck I've used. It's got this real cosmic vibe to it. It uses, you know, photographic images of real life people, and that's usually proves tough for me to work with. And any sort of cosmic energy is very, very new to me. So from that video, my friend Andy said, hey, I haven't been using this deck either, I'm feeling the same, why don't we do morning readings together, which is just, it's so much fun. We both really love doing it. And she had the idea of, let's just, at least for the week, for, you know, the morning readings we do together, let's use this deck. And something about it, it's not me putting the pressure on myself, because that's what it feels like when I say, like, I personally am going to use this whole deck for the whole week, then it feels like pressure I'm putting on myself. This created this fabulous body doubling situation where, you know, I do my own reading for myself in the morning before I either watch, you know, we switch on and off, so before I watch the video that Andy does of our joint reading or do our joint reading, I always do my own reading first. And so for that one, I do what I normally do and just completely switch around whatever deck I'm using for the day. I go off what I'm feeling, and that's that. But then for our reading, we just use this. And it really it clicked in my head that it's what we were doing was body doubling, which is a fabulous thing for me personally, to do things that usually are hard for me. As soon as there's someone else doing it with me, it doesn't feel so hard. But we also kind of just accidentally created this way we went about it that was so much fun, where we kind of go, typically it's like we do every other day, we switch off in that way. And what we did was we either used like a spread we wanted to use, or we just kind of did a free-form reading where we pulled out each day that we were responsible for. We pulled out like a whole new set of oracle decks or other tarot decks that we thought would pair super well with the She-Wolf Tarot, and used like, it was so much fun. We used like 4 to like 6 different decks with the She-Wolf, so it also kind of almost made this like game to see how it would pair. And at the end of the reading, once we kind of did the reading, we would say like, okay, here was our like first, second, and third place for this group. And it just, I don't know, it was something about it like made it so much fun. So it was this double situation of, I was body doubling, I had someone else to do it with me, but then it also satisfied the what do you call it? The need for just switching things up that my ADHD brain has, because we were using all these other decks with it, and it was so much fun, and it completely made this deck click for me. Using it in this way and just having that much exposure to it, I get it. I get like the love of this deck, and it really, now we'll talk about the actual deck now. I really have fallen in love with the cosmic energy happening here, which is not something I ever would have thought I'd have an interest in. But that's the current vibe. And what I really like about this deck in particular is the way that the guidebook is written, because it really does, it has that cosmic energy in mind. You're getting the astrological associations, which, in combination with following the Deccan wheel with Marlena Teresa, it's something that's been on my brain. But something else that I also really, really enjoy, I don't know if it was like realized while she was making this deck or if that happened afterwards, but regardless, that the creator, Devaney Amber Wolfe, is autistic. So I just feel like when I've been using this deck and reading the guidebook, it feels like the messages, not that they like are specifically having to do with that, but since Devaney herself is autistic, it's going to have that lens because she's writing it, like there's, that is her. So it kind of was this cool combination of like seeing tarot through a new lens of this cosmic energy, but then also feeling like I really did connect with a lot of what she was saying, because it felt like, even if it was like not purposeful, that it had this sort of neurodivergent lens, which I really enjoyed. Again, that's not like anything that this tarot is like marketed for, that's just how the pieces I put together myself. So I've really been enjoying this deck, and I thought with this video I could show all my number ones, my number one pairings. So again, I don't really know what I'm going to title this video, because at first I was thinking like, oh, I'd call it like deep diving the She-Wolf, but then I feel like I don't want to give off the impression that in this video we are going through card by card. I just wanted to talk about my experience, so I don't know. You'll know what I picked. Anyways, let's start off with actually the selection from my speed dating video. So if you watch that, this won't be anything new. If you didn't, spoiler alert. But it was the daily crystal inspiration. I really loved how this worked out in that video. I had 2 decks that actually really caught my attention in that video. This being the one I chose because these together felt very much like an everyday kind of message. It made it feel really approachable. The other deck, which I don't have here to show, but was a fantastic pairing, and I did use, we ended up doing this for 2 weeks. We worked with this deck, and now we are shifting to a new one, just because it felt like the right energy. But that's something else I should add too, is initially we were like, let's just do it for the week, but then we were enjoying it so much that we were like, it doesn't feel done. So now we are going to continue this practice, because we've already have like a list of decks that were like, okay, this is working, let's just try it with these other ones and see what happens. But we haven't really put any sort of timestamp on it, because, you know, if we're enjoying it, we're going to keep going. So that's that. But the other deck I really enjoyed was the Goddess Inspiration card. So that one was like almost won that deck speed dating, but this one made it really, really approachable. And so I did appreciate that, especially to start with this deck when I was just getting to know it. It was really, I loved how the messages worked together. I liked the space that this created. It just was really good. Very much enjoyed. So that's the Daily Crystal Inspiration Oracle. The next one is actually a new to me deck, and it is the Wild Unknown Alchemy. So the other thing to kind of come from this, working with this tarot, was we were getting a lot of messages that had this very alchemical lean, or just like literally mentioned the word alchemical or alchemy. And so I've kind of been thinking about this deck for a while, but just, I don't know anything about alchemy. So I just kind of figured it wouldn't be for me. But then, I don't know, I just was like, well, I have to start somewhere. And so an oracle deck by Kim Krans, I feel like is the way to go, because I do really like her work. I'm very new to her work, but I am really enjoying it, and very much enjoying this so far as well. Also to say that I am in a temperance year right now, so that it all makes sense. But I really enjoyed, look how the colors work together on this one. And I really like the difference in shape. I think is so interesting. But the Wild Unknown cards, I feel like, have this really cool way of kind of simultaneously bring you like up into the cosmos, but then down to earth as well. And that's what I really found with this pairing in particular, is it really did feel like this alchemical experience. Oh my gosh, did I say experience? Alchemical experience of which I shouldn't throw around those words. I don't really, because I still don't really know what that means. Anyway, more of it provided this connection between really like earth and space, it felt like, which was so cool. And just, I don't know, visually it was really excellent. My cards are all mixed around because it's not an easy one to to shuffle, as you can imagine, but I really enjoyed using this one. So that was the Wild Unknown Alchemy Oracle. Bottom of the box, there it is. Alright, so, like I said, I did use the Goddess Inspiration cards and still loved it. But another Goddess Oracle that I tried and really loved with this was the Invoking the Goddess Oracle in Action from Lisa de St. Croix. I am such a huge Lisa de St. Croix fan. I think her artwork is so fantastic. I love everything she has to say. And this really just was so good with this deck. It's something about the colors, and I feel like that was a bit, at first felt almost like a challenge with the She-Wolf, is because it has so many colors that I'm not really used to working with that. But I don't know, I found I had so much more than I thought I would that paired so well. Like, look how beautiful this looks together. And what I really enjoyed is, because the She-Wolf is, you know, ties in a lot of astrology, we have a lot of planets going on in the collage that are circular, and so it really felt like this other connection too through shape, because we have the circular deck here, you know, tying in the circles showing up in the She-Wolf, and something about that felt really, really interesting as well. But another way that I felt like with this cosmic energy is it felt really similar to just how I experienced deity energy as well. So that was another reason that I just really enjoyed using this pairing. Look how cool that is. Oh, it's so good. I really, really enjoyed that one. So that is the Invoking the Goddess Oracle. Next, the Animal Apothecary Oracle. The art styles of these two decks just flowed so seamlessly. Look at the colors. So, so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect to love this Animal Apothecary as much as I do. This is one that Andy has been telling me I need to get, and I don't know why I ever don't listen, because she knows when I need something, and this is one I have been so obsessed with. Especially, it was really cool. Well, no, I got this before we started working with Wolfe, but this kind of made this deck really click for me as well, because the colors have just, I don't know, they're so good. But this one also, while it is an animal deck, it really feels like it has this kind of cosmic energy to it as well. I really loved using in readings, you know, obviously She-Wolf, Animal Apothecary, but bringing in either the Kim Cran's Alchemy Oracle, but I did also use her archetypes, and that, you know, definitely worked as well. I really liked using those in readings all together, because it just, I don't know, this with the Kim Cran's decks and She-Wolf just felt like it brought this similar energy to the reading that was really interesting. I feel like I'm not describing any of this super well, but it is what it is. A lot of the times it was kind of like really focusing on the visual as well, which I just think these art styles worked so incredibly well together. I really loved it. And I really love the messages that come with this Animal Apothecary. It's really a great deck. So, Animal Apothecary Oracle. We've got two more to show here. And let me know if this was interesting. I would be happy to keep you posted. You know, as long as Andy and I keep doing this, once we kind of finish up with a deck, you know, doing a similar video for each one, I would be happy to do that because I'm really excited about how this is working out. So let me know. Next, the Immunology Oracle. This one I bought while we were doing this practice with She-Wolf. Mostly because of my friend Rachel, who loves this deck, and she brought it to work, and I don't know, I became so incredibly intrigued by it, and a lot of it has to do with that the guidebook has spreads for not only the full moon and the new moon, but also waning moon and waxing moon, and Rachel said that she likes to use this deck when she feels like she really needs, like, solid advice, and she will go to whatever the current moon phase is and use that spread to get the advice. And I just loved that idea, and we ended up using this for, it's been a waning moon, so that's the spread we did with this, and it was so good. But I also think, again, it pulls in that cosmic energy. I just think that the colors and art styles match up super well. I really love how these work together, and I'm really loving this Immunology Oracle. Come on, rose petals. That's what happens when I try and make things pretty. Although I'm loving it. I'm loving making things look pretty lately. Stepping up that game. So good. This Seven of Swords came up so constantly for us. It was kind of wild. I just did today kind of our, I do like a weekly reading on Sundays, and I use the Owl and Bones weekly spread where it's let go, wake up mantra, and so I used that as like our deck switch over where we were letting go of She-Wolf, waking up the new deck we were using, and then, you know, did something else for the mantra. But we've been pulling this like so often in these 2 weeks, and then this, as I was shuffling, I was like, that would be so funny if this came up in our Let Go, and it did. So creepy. Okay, we've got one more deck to show, so we're just gonna shuffle this a bit, and we're just looking at it for the visuals, so we're gonna just reset. But might as well get some new pairings in there, right? So yes, this one I really enjoyed with She-Wolf. I didn't even really use this one as like a pairing. I used it a lot, like I did those moon readings and used whichever was the right moon. Like I did a full moon one too and pulled out, I think we just were in the Capricorn full moon. But I really liked how they visually look together, and this is one that I'm really excited to still use She-Wolf now that I feel so connected to it through this practice. I have a feeling this could turn into like a moon reading deck for me. I don't know, we shall see, but I'm excited to really like use these two together. So that was for sure a favorite, and that is the Immunology Oracle. So late to the game on that party. I know this deck's been out like wherever. Alright, and last but not least, the Death Doula Oracle. I really enjoy this one. I feel like I never show it, and I was saying that when I paired these two, and I was like, I wonder why, like, I don't see this one around often, or why I don't even show it often, and I realized, like, oh, because it brings up some intense work. This deck is no joke, and so I feel like it's more just, maybe it's a similar experience everyone's having where it's like, oh, when I use this deck, I don't need to share what's going on there. But I really, really liked how these two paired together. I really tried a lot of my photography style decks with this because in the collage we've got those photographic elements, but I really think this Death Doula Oracle really speaks to those cycles of death and rebirth, and I do think there is kind of an interesting cosmic energy to that alone. It definitely, like, it has an earthy feel to me as well, but kind of depending on what you use it with, it takes on that kind of form in terms of how you're viewing that death and rebirth, which I think is really cool and makes this oracle so versatile. But using it with She-Wolf, it really brought it to this cosmic place, and I really, really enjoyed seeing this oracle that I do love and do use all the time, but through this different lens, because usually my decks are very earthy, very tied to nature, and so that's kind of the lens this deck usually gets, but it was cool to see it like transform in the way it was reading, using just a different kind of deck with it. But I do think visually they work well too. I don't think, probably not necessarily as well as the others, but this one was more kind of how it read was really, really interesting, because we noticed that using the She-Wolf, there are like light and shadow entries, and we found that the entry that always seemed to, or not always, but a lot of the time seemed to make sense was the shadow. It read very shadowy for us, which was very interesting. But that is the Death Doula Oracle, and that is the last pairing I have to show you today. So, all this to say, I really enjoyed this practice. If you are someone who tends to struggle with the concept of deep diving decks, maybe try this out. You know, find someone to use the deck with, do some body doubling, and I don't know, just have fun with it. See what pairings you can make. It turned it into this whole fun game for us, and I totally recommend, if you have a way that you love to deep dive decks, I would love to hear about it, because I just love trying out new things. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. It's so cool how I went from being like so unsure about this deck, really just thinking, okay, this is just, it is not my usual vibe, I know that, but thinking like, well, maybe I just shouldn't go outside of my usual vibe, like, but then through this practice becoming so just within 2 weeks, becoming so connected to this deck and feeling like I know it so well. It was really cool. So, that's all I got for you today. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend, and I will see you again very soon. Oh my gosh, totally forgot to mention, there are, ooh, oh my goodness, pairings that Andy did with decks I don't have that I really enjoyed and I wanted to just share the pictures of. So whether they get, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but you shall see. The first of those being the Energetics of Color Oracle. I just thought, again, this brought out the color happening in the She-Wolf so well, and the messages they were just so cool. The other one being the Sacred Symbols Oracle. I'm pretty sure this is called. If not, I will correct that. But it's all symbols in the Oracle, and again, this simplicity of it created this really cool space with what's happening in the She-Wolf. And last but not least, I'm pretty sure this is called the Dream Visions Tarot, but such a cosmic energy there, really paired with that vibe of She-Wolf so well. It was so good. So, wanted to make sure I shared that as well, because I don't have those decks to show, and they were really super cool with this, in case you wanted to see.